Jonathan Sacerdoti is a Middle East analyst, and he joins us live now in the studio. Thank you so much for being here with us on Al Jazeera. I mean, obviously the situation could escalate. The funeral is tomorrow. How damaging do you think this is for the already very tense Palestinian-Israeli relations?
We've been seeing these rising tensions in Jerusalem particularly, but in the whole of the West Bank over the last weeks. And when I was just in Jerusalem only a few weeks ago, I could see that things were running high. So now an event like this, along with all the other deaths that have taken part from the various different instances which have happened on both sides, means that anything can tip this over the edge. And I think it's important, as both Benjamin Netanyahu and others in the Israeli government have said, to try to keep cooperation going and security calm.
Well, mentioning that, I mean, there's now talk, certainly Mahmoud Abbas has mentioned that is one of the things that they're considering, to stop security cooperation in the West Bank. Now, considering that there is, well, no peace process to speak of, really, the two sides are barely talking, how key do you think that would be for the escalations in the West Bank?
So it's obviously worrying for Netanyahu and all Israelis to hear Abbas saying that he would like to end security cooperation. As you say, there's no peace talks going on. And at the moment, Israel is moving into its election phase. So in fact, in a way, it has a desire to keep the calm as much as it can during that period. So it's very important, really, that Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government find a way to rebuild the confidence so that Abbas can step down from that position of threatening that there will be a lack of cooperation. Of course,
Mahmoud Abbas would say that it's the events that we've seen today, and a lot of the events are on camera, and so there's going to be an investigation, but those pictures have done the rounds for all to see. So obviously Mahmoud Abbas will say, well, he's reacting to that. But as you mentioned, it is in the Israeli interest to try to de-escalate the situation for a variety of reasons, including the elections. How do you think they could or should do that?
Well, above all else, it's important for everybody to de-escalate the tensions so that both sides have fewer people dying on them. That's the first thing to note. The elections, of course, are incidental. But what's important is that both sides should somehow have faith in the process of the investigation. So the Israelis have announced that they would like to have an investigation into what happened, and in fact they would like there to be representatives from both sides so that there can be fewer accusations that there's a cover-up of any wrongdoing that might have happened. They're keen to try to get to the bottom of what did happen. There have been some rumours going around that Abu Ein also had health problems and that the tension of the situation may have contributed to his death.
Well, there is an autopsy going on right now, so
exactly.
all of that presumably will be resolved.
So the autopsy will have people from both sides on it so that they can try to establish whether or not there was any wrongdoing on the part of soldiers or whether or not it's a death that didn't take place at the hands of the Israelis.
There is a momentum going on right now, though, isn't it? I mean, obviously the tensions that we're seeing months over East Jerusalem, the old city, all the movements that the Palestinians are making at the UN. I mean, this is possibly a more worrying time for the Israelis than they have seen in the past few years.
I think for Israelis it is a worrying time because there's no process going on for peace talks. And when the peace talks...
the Palestinians would say that that's because the Israelis keep on building in the West Bank.
Indeed, both sides have blamed one another for the end of those talks. And it's not clear exactly to those of us on the outside observing what exactly broke down the talks. But what we can say...
When you were last in Jerusalem, you said, or Tel Aviv, did you get a sense that there was a shift, that there was more of a worry about what might happen in the West Bank than there has been previously?
Certainly, people are worried. Israelis are worried because there were more terror incidences where people were killed, such as those in the bus stops, and Palestinians are worried to see things like the event that happened today. So the emphasis needs to be for both sides to try, for the purposes of their own people, to de-escalate, to try to get back around the negotiating table, and perhaps to use this rise in tensions as a catalyst towards increased negotiation rather than increased tension and increased violence in the region, which of course doesn't help either side and doesn't move them any further towards peace.
Jonathan Sacerdoti, Middle East analyst, thank you very much for joining us.